बीजू जनता दल के पिनाकी मिश्रा जी हैं, उनसे मैं निवेदन करूंगा वो अपनी बात संक्षेप में रखें।
Respected Anna Hazare ji, leaders of various political parties who are on the dais, and leaders of civil society who I am addressing today, each one of you is a leader of civil society. आप सबको मेरा प्रणाम। Friends, I'm in that invidious position. I don't know whether I should say it's fortunate or unfortunate, that I was a member of this standing committee. I think I'm the only one amongst all the leaders here. I was a member of the standing committee and therefore privy to a lot that has happened over the past 2 months during the deliberations of the standing committee. We held 15 meetings spread over about 2 months, each meeting lasting not less than 3 hours. It was 3.5 hours, 4 hours at times. So a total of about 55 hours of deliberation. We had the privilege of examining some of the finest minds in this country who appeared before the committee. We had the representatives of NCPRI, Lok Sakta from Hyderabad, the Center of Policy Research, we had the Bar Council of India, we had CII, we had PRS, Legislative, the Research Branch, we had legal luminaries, 2 very eminent former Chief Justice of India, men of outstanding, unimpeachable integrity and great intellect, Chief Justice Venkatachalaya and Chief Justice J.S. Verma. We had legal luminaries like Harish Salve, Rajiv Dhawan, senior advocates. So we had a very, very wide, vast galaxy of popular public opinion that we sampled. And despite that, I'm sorry to say I'm not happy with the final report, and that's the reason the Biju Janata Dal, under the leadership of Shri Naveen Patnaik ji, has given a very strong dissent note. And I'm sorry that it had eventually to come to this pass when there were so many dissents which had to be recorded. Being a member, I know I should be very careful in diverging what is a matter of privity amongst the members of the committee. But I think I'm at liberty, because this has been reported in the media, to at least diverge one very disconcerting and very sad aspect. Friends, on the 30th of November at our meeting, there was near consensus on 2 issues. One of the issues had been mooted by me personally. I said the independence of the CBI, or the lack of it, is the reason why this civil society movement has gathered this momentum. If the Central Bureau of Investigation over the last 55 years had been allowed to do its work as was envisaged under the Delhi Police Special Establishment Act, if the guilty had been punished, if the corrupt had been prosecuted, then there would not be such anger on the streets. And therefore, the Supreme Court tried very hard through the Vineet Narayan judgment to release the CBI from the controls of the government. But every government, and I say so advisedly because I have friends of every shade of political opinion here, every government since 1998 Vineet Narayan judgment has followed that judgment in the breach. That judgment has not been followed till date. Every government has been loath to let go of control of the CBI. On the 30th, there was near unanimity that as far as the Director CBI's post is concerned, which is the most critical post and which we have seen repeatedly over the past several CBI directorships, hand-picked officers are picked up to head the CBI without regard to whether they deserve to be there or not, whether they have the competence or not, simply because they will act as, I say with great respect, lapdogs. There was a famous statement made during the emergency when a leader said that if somebody was asked to bend, he chose to crawl. I'm sorry to say that's what the CBI has been reduced to over the past several decades. Case after case after case we've seen where the people should have been prosecuted have been let go, people who should not have been prosecuted have been hounded. So therefore this was our plea for the committee, And everybody in the committee, I think, was of the unanimous opinion that day that the director CBI, at least, I had asked for special directors as well. I said this director CBI and 6 to 8 special directors must be by an independent selection mechanism, which was envisaged under the Vinit Narayan judgment, which is it should be the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha, and the Lokpal Chairman, which would give it a complete level of independence. That was agreed to. Suddenly, the next morning we were told that on the 30th, by the way, the committee had concluded its deliberations. The committee was slated to meet on the 1st as well, but we decided we don't need to meet on the 1st because everything is thrashed out. Suddenly, on the morning of the 1st, we were told, rush back because there is a meeting to be held today. And several people have said that on 2 key issues which were decided yesterday, I'll come to the second one, there has been a rethink. One is the CBI. The second, by near majority, the committee had decided that C-grade employees must also be included in the Lokpal. Friends, let me first put one issue right here. After the 6th Pay Commission, there is no D grade or D class of service. Now there is only A, B and C. So this continuous refrain about C and D is erroneous. There is only C class now. There is A, B and C after the 6th Pay Commission. And there was near unanimity that the C class employees must also be included. Again, there was a rethink on that as well. And the next day, by majority, it was decided that the CBI appointment procedure would be the old procedure, that C-class employees would not be included. Now, this I found to be the disconcerting aspect of this entire confabulations. Friends, let me tell you, on behalf of the Biju Janata Dal and coming from Odisha, where you know Naveen Patnaik ji has been now elected for the 3rd time running, is very rare in this country that a chief minister is found to be so popular as to come back for a 3rd time. I'm not saying here that we have wiped out corruption in Odisha. But at least Naveen Patnaik, you may say what you like against him, but you cannot accuse him of personal corruption. This is a one man of outstanding personal integrity, unimpeachable personal integrity. I think everybody in this country, regardless of political opinion, knows and acknowledges that his personal integrity is without doubt. And therefore, under his leadership in Odisha, we have some experience of tackling corruption. We were one of the first states to set up special courts to prosecute the corrupt. We were one of the first states, in fact, even before Bihar, which brought about confiscation of properties. Many properties in Odisha now are serving as hospitals and dispensaries and all kinds of public places. We have completely abolished discretionary quotas in that state. There are no discretionary quotas left in Odisha in the hands of the chief minister, ministers, anybody. We are the first state in which we have, in fact, decided that websites, on the website, every minister's and every the chief minister's assets must be put up. So therefore, 15 cabinet ministers over the last 10 years, I think Mr. Jaitley is here, he knows, at least 15 cabinet ministers have been sacked on grounds of corruption. At least 20 to 25 bureaucrats are today being prosecuted. All senior IS officers, they are being prosecuted today. So we have some experience. And on the basis of that, we filed our dissent. Number one, on the issue of the Prime Minister, we are firmly of the opinion that the Prime Minister has no business to be outside the purview of the Lokpal. The Prime Minister must be within the Lokpal. The constitution makers did not want the Prime Minister outside the constitution ambit. The President of India has been given immunity from prosecution. The Prime Minister has not been. Parliament, when it framed the Prevention of Corruption Act, did not give the Prime Minister immunity from corruption charges. So therefore there is no reason. And the Prime Minister in this country, unlike the United States, holds economic portfolios from time to time. They've held defense, telecom, many economic portfolios. So we believe the Prime Minister, subject to the just exceptions of space, atomic energy, national security, internal affairs, just 3 or 4 basic safeguards, and an additional safeguard that 3/4 of the Lokpal, the full Lokpal must meet, and at least 3/4 must decide to prosecute the Prime Minister. That safeguard we want. Otherwise, we want the Prime Minister as part of the Lokpal. That is number one. Number two, we have said the CBI must be freed from the controls of government. The CBI director and special director's appointment must be, as we have recommended, by the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, as well as the Lokpal Chairman. I think that will give the CBI complete autonomy. Friends, I must say, being a member of the committee, it's not as if it's a dead loss. It's not as if it's a total write-off. There are some aspects where some forward movement has been made, and I must place those before you. Many members have, I'm sure. Firstly, the single enactment of both Lokpal and Lokayukt under one umbrella. That's a very important step forward, because we've seen how different states, some states have been terribly laggard. Not Orissa, we've had a Lokayukt for the past more than 25 years and a retired judge acting very vigorously. But many states have not had Lokayukts for years on together on some pretext or the other. So this single umbrella will, I think, give it homogeneity and give it a great deal of uniformity. That's number one. Number two, stiffer punishment. This is something which I had personally asked for. I said the Prevention of Corruption Act punishment of 3 months to 3 years, the minimum and maximum is pitiable. I had personally asked for life imprisonment, but the members felt that was too stiff. I had then said, okay, make it 14 years, make it 10 years, but I think it's now eventually going to be 7 years. So that appears to be halfway there, but at least it's a great improvement on 3 years. That's number two. Number three, there is a Directorate of Prosecution which has now been brought in, and this is a very important issue, because earlier if the CBI wanted to prosecute, the CBI had to go to the Ministry of Law and Justice to prosecute. And the Ministry of Law and Justice could handpick and choose which officer to decide to prosecute, not to prosecute. It was completely in their hands. This Directorate of Prosecution would be a completely independent body, as in the US and the UK. It's a huge step forward, I believe. The fourth issue, I believe, where some measure of comfort can be drawn, is that the penalties which were in the original government bill have been reduced for vexatious and false complaints. That's been brought down incredibly. So I think there should be no great disincentive now in terms of complaining to the Lokpal. The fifth issue, and I think that's an issue which will strike a chord amongst the less privileged, is the reservation that we've decided in the search committee, so that members from all shades of public opinion, all shades of society, from the marginalized section of society, from the depressed classes, the minorities, everybody can get a role to play in this very, very important organization. This is an important issue. And I believe that giving constitutional status to the Lokpal, I think, has given it that extra beef, has given it that extra meat, it's given it that extra robustness. It will definitely add to the weight of the Lokpal. So friends, I believe that it is not a total write-off, but much work has to be done. The only problem is that I urge civil society that the next great agitation has to be how Parliament can run. And I have to say this right at the threshold. I believe the Biju Janata Dal has never ever gone into the well of the House till date. Why is that? Because our leader, our Chief Minister tells us, you will not disrupt Parliament. You want to agitate, you sit outside under Gandhiji's statue and you agitate. Nobody will ever disrupt Parliament. There have been members who've gone and told the Chief Minister that, the only way to really make a mark is to go and disrupt Parliament, and he really frowns on that. And I believe that political parties whose members enter the well of the House do so at the behest of their leaders. I am saying this here on stage, in front of cameras. It's the political party leaders who, I believe, exhort their MPs to go in and disrupt Parliament. It is therefore the leaders of political parties who are responsible for the kind of disruption we are seeing in Parliament. It would be a sad day if this bill has to be rushed through Parliament without debate. If this is going to happen in Parliament, then these kind of parliaments in and around Jantar Mantar, in and around Ramlila are going to become more and more frequent, and we better be aware that those days are coming and those days are not too far. So therefore, Parliament has to find a way of self-regulating itself. If Parliament doesn't find a way of self-regulating itself, we have only ourselves to blame. The only other aspect I need to touch on, friends, three, four other aspects, which I think the Judicial Accountability Bill must be accompanied, we believe, by the National Judicial Commission. That's absolutely imperative. All shades of opinion which came before us felt it should not be part of the Lokpal. That is number one. The Citizens' Charter, again, many shades of public opinion said it should not be part of the Lokpal, but it should be a robust, independent mechanism. The Whistleblowers Bill, as has been today introduced, has to be taken back. It has to be withdrawn by the government. There must be a fresh Whistleblowers Bill which will give more than adequate protection, which is warranted to whistleblowers in this country. With this, I end my peroration. I know that this is an idea whose time has come. It cannot be suppressed any longer. It just requires Parliament to wake up. This is a clarion call for Parliament. We have to self-regulate, wake up, debate, give this nation a healthy Lokpal. Thank you very much. Pranam.
Thank you, Pinaki ji. और अंत में राजा जी एक दो क्लैरिफिकेशन कर